Good morning. So my name is John Gonzales. I am the Director Chief for Williams County EMS. I'm about 2 months and a week into my new role. Although I've been with Williams County EMS for almost 20 years, I'm new to the Director Chief role. I started in 2005 as a field paramedic and worked my way through the clinical side of the EMS organization, bringing on new protocols, new equipment, trying to push the system forward and more advanced and bring essentially the mobile ICU to you when you call 911. And again, like I said, I just kind of progressed throughout the department, and now I'm in charge. So here I am. So I started in healthcare probably over 30 years ago. I joined the Army as a medic. I served 8 years in the Army. When I separated from the Army, I was a clinical manager at the Austin Diagnostic Clinic in Austin. I was over their wound care department, podiatry, orthopedics, and nephrology. And while I was working full-time there, I went to paramedic school, completed paramedic school, and then got hired on here in 2005 and have been here ever since and love it. So I'm going to talk to you today about Williams County EMS, the things that makes us who we are, and the medicine that we bring to you when you call 911. Okay? It helps if I turned it on. There we go. So I'm going to start with our vision, mission, and values. And everything you see highlighted in yellow is what I'm proposing to add to our mission, vision, and values. So our vision currently is Williams County EMS will be recognized as a national leader in people-centered pre-hospital medicine. Our mission is to deliver preeminent care enhanced by education and research. And our values are, at Williams County EMS, we uphold each of these core values 24/7 with patients, families, and teammates. And then under well-regarded, we'll work to be respected among the community, we'll show concern for others, we'll be committed to doing what it takes, mission focus, will remain faithful to the mission, and we'll work to meet others' needs. So one thing that was brought to my attention when I promoted this position is there was no mention of our staff, of the individuals that are on the ground 48 hours or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. There was no mention of them in our vision, mission, and values. And without them, we can't do the things that we do. Right? We can set the vision, we can set what we want our organization to do, but without those individuals on those trucks responding to those calls when you call 911, we are nothing, right? So I added those things in yellow. So under vision, where the well-being and growth of our staff are essential to achieving excellence in patient care and service. Under mission, while fostering a supportive and empowering environment for our staff to thrive, innovate, and grow professionally. Under values, recognize that our staff's dedication is the foundation of our success. And to me, that's the biggest one right there, okay? Under well-regarded, ensure our staff feels valued, appreciated, and supported in all aspects of their roles. Under compassionate, providing care not only for our patients, but also nurturing the well-being of our staff members, ensuring they have the support that they need to excel. And as Chief Zito said, these are tough roles, right? You've probably seen EMS shows on TV, Chicago and 911 and those. The reality of working in EMS is that you unfortunately see the bad things that humans can do to each other, okay? It's unfortunate. You see it on the news all the time, and these individuals see that firsthand, okay? You hear about it in the news, they see it, when they close their eyes at night, they relive it, okay? So we had to add some wording in here to make them and get them to understand that we're here to support them and we understand what they're going through. So that's why we added these in here. Under engaged, empowering our staff to take initiative, grow and actively contribute to the success of our mission and the betterment of our community. And then mission focus, prioritizing the development and well-being of our team members as we work towards the shared goal of outstanding care and service. And lastly, whether they are patients, families, or our own teammates, recognizing that a supportive and empowered staff is key to delivering exceptional service. Okay, so that's our vision, that's our mission, our values, and we strive to live these day in and day out. Okay. So a little bit of our history. We were founded in 1975. We started with 3 ambulances that covered the 1,100 square mile county. Okay, and again, it wasn't as populated as today, but over the years we have grown. So we have over 700,000 people in the county now. We have 25 response-capable vehicles, and then we have multiple other vehicles that we can actually put in service if we need to. If a disaster happens, we have the personnel, we have the ambulances, we have Tahoes and whatnot that we can outfit to respond to calls as needed. During this time, we're actually celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. During this time of 50 years, we've only had 4 EMS directors. Okay, so prior to me, it was Mike Knipstein. Prior to him, it was Kenny Schnell, and prior to him, it was John Sneed. Okay. So in a 50-year history, I'm the 4th director, which is unheard of. And most agencies go through directors like every 3 or 5 years, okay? We've also only had 3 EMS medical directors. Okay, our very first medical director was Dr. Stephen Benold. Many of you may know him, okay? So I trained under Dr. Benold. And then after Dr. Benold was Dr. Jeff Jarvis, who left us to go up north to Fort Worth to MedStar. And we currently have Dr. Taylor Ratcliffe. He has been our medical director for a little over 2 years now, probably 2 years and 3 or 4 months or so. But needless to say, we are positioned to deliver that excellent healthcare way into the future. Okay, we have a vision of where we want to go. We have a strategic plan that guides us in where we're going to go, how we're going to get there, and what it's going to look like. My vision is a little bit different from my predecessors, and that I want to make sure that we get the right resources to the right patient at the right time, but also being fiscally responsible. Okay, we don't want to ask for things that we don't need. We're going to ask for things that we want and that will help the citizens when they call 911. We are CAS accredited. That's the Commission on Accreditation of Ambulance Services. There are over 800 EMS systems in the state of Texas. There are only 11 who are CAS accredited, and we are one of them. We became CAS accredited in 2016, and we were the 3rd EMS service in the state to become CAS accredited. Okay, there have been others since then, but again, if you're looking at 800 EMS services in the state of Texas, only 11 of them are accredited, meaning they go through the very intense self-study, they go through a very grueling on-site review of their system, records, personnel, training, education, et cetera, and it's good for every 3 years. So we just completed our last recertification a couple of months ago. It went in the mail into February, and we're waiting to hear back on the results of that. So that was a huge accomplishment for us in 2016. We're very proud of it, and you should be too, because when you call 911, you know that you're getting an agency that has been looked at from an outside organization, and we're not just patting ourselves on the back, telling us that we're good and telling you that we're good, okay? So a quick overview, as Chief Zito said, I rounded my numbers up a little bit, 175 employees, and that consists of paramedics, advanced EMTs, EMT basics, community health providers, and then administrative staff such as clinical staff, operational staff, administrative staff, outreach, logistics. We have 1 medical director, and we're in the process of bringing on an associate medical director to help Dr. Ratcliffe manage all the first responders that we provide medical direction to as well. Okay, so we're going to grow that office a little bit and see if we can push out some new initiatives. As far as what you get when you call 911, you get a very robust complement of medical equipment. Okay, so our ambulances are licensed as MICUs, which stands for Mobile Intensive Care Unit. Okay, so we can bring to you a cardiac monitor. Oh, let me back up. This is the equipment. So 18 frontline ambulances, 3 demand ambulances, 3 command response Tahoes, and then we have 1 standalone response Tahoe out in Florence. So if you live out in the Florence area, you call 911, you're going to get a paramedic and a Tahoe first, and then the ambulance will catch up to them. Okay, and they're bringing the same equipment that the ambulance has, but in a Tahoe. Okay, we have 8 backup ambulances sitting out here. We have 2 backup response Tahoes and 11 support vehicles. So like I said, if we need to put more equipment or apparatus in service because of a major disaster or something to that effect, we have the ability to do so. Okay. Now, as far as equipment goes, when we bring that mobile intensive care unit to you, we have cardiac monitors. We can do 12 lead EKGs. We have automated blood pressure cuffs, pulse ox, end-tidal. We have ventilators on every truck. We have ultrasound on every truck. One thing that I didn't mention on here is we have IV pumps on every truck as well. We carry whole blood on our commander's Tahoe. So if you are in a traumatic event and you need blood, we can give blood to you on scene while you're on the way to the hospital instead of waiting to get to the hospital to get that blood, okay? If you have a medical condition such as a GI bleed and you start vomiting blood or you're passing blood, we can give you blood in the field while we're getting you to the hospital, okay? So we have that equipment, we have that blood. That is something we started about 2 years ago, and we have over 70 blood administrations since then. And I think we've only had a handful of people who did not survive after getting blood. Everyone else survived and had a good recovery. So it is a game changer in emergency medical services to carry blood, and we're fortunate that we're able to do it. And so again, if you are in a situation where you need blood, we have it available. Okay. We have ultrasound on every truck. We have, if you ever had to have a breathing tube placed in your throat or know someone who has, that is a very skilled thing to do. With technology, we now have it's a camera that sits on top of a blade. So instead of someone getting down and looking into your mouth, they can actually look at the screen. It makes it easier for them to place that tube into your trachea and then place you on a ventilator. So things that used to be done only in the operating room or an emergency room have been done in EMS for now upwards of 20 years now. And then we carry various medications. We don't carry any antibiotics or anything like that, but we carry pain medications, we carry sedatives, we carry a lot of what we call vasoactive medications, medications to help you in cardiac arrest, medications to help with hypertension, medications to help with stroke. So we have all those same medications that you would get if you were to present to the ER with a very similar situation. We can give you those medications as well. Okay, we start IVs and things like that. So again, like I said, we bring the intensive care to you to a certain extent. We don't have everything an ICU has, obviously, but we have the main things that you would need or that we would need to be able to help you in your time of need. Okay. As far as stations goes, we have 22 EMS stations across the county. 19 of those cohabitate with fire departments. So again, like I said, we are the medical direction for all of the fire departments in the county, from Taylor all the way to Florence Volunteer Fire Department. Okay, so we have units in almost all of those stations. We have 3 ambulances that are in standalone county facilities. So on Old Settlers over by the Jester Annex, we have a standalone facility, and we have 2 ambulances in there. And then in Taylor, we have 2 ambulances in Taylor, Medic 41 and 42, and one of them is housed right off of Main Street, and the other one is off of, I can't remember the name of the Mallard, kind of off in there by Carlos G. Parker. So we kind of distribute our ambulances in conjunction with where the call volume typically occurs. And so if you look at this heat map here, and here's the overlay of the county line, most of this is going to be Leander, Cedar Park, Jollyville, Round Rock, right? You have Hutto over here, you have Taylor over here, and then you have Gerald. And as Gerald grows, that call volume will increase as well. But Taylor out here is starting to grow as well. You have Samsung coming in. So as Chief said, you know, with Samsung coming in and the population moving out to that area, you know, we expect the heat map, to extend up this way and maybe even down over here. And you can see that we respond as far out as Lawrence and out here and Copeland, and then far up in Florence and even at the county line. Sometimes if there's not an ambulance available in Burnett, we will mutual aid Burnett County and go into Burnett County to help them. If you notice the city of Georgetown, there's no like heat map over Georgetown. In 2015, the city of Georgetown decided to run EMS within the fire department, so they do their own EMS there. We do mutual aid into Georgetown, so you can see some kind of minor heat maps here, so whenever they don't have ambulances, we backfill them to help them with their 911 call volume. It's not a lot of calls that we respond in Georgetown to, but we do help them. I have been in talks with Chief Sullivan. We're looking at ways that we can work together to help each other out, because it's not when it happens, it's a matter, or not if it happens, a matter of when it happens, when something major happens and they're going to need our help and we're going to need their help. So we're all in this together. These are all citizens of Williamson County, and we service them as well. So that's kind of our heat map of our call volume. Last year, we ran 36,325 911 calls. This year, we're on track to exceed 40,000 911 calls. If you think about the population of Williamson County of 700,000, our call volume should be about 80,000 calls a year. Okay, if you look at the city of Austin, they run about 600 calls in a day. And for us in Williamson County, the question has always been, why is your call volume so low for a county that's so populated as Williamson County? And the bottom line is we have, I think there was a study enough years ago that the citizens of Williamson County have great access to health care, and many of them have insurance and a way to pay for health care. So we don't have a lot of indigent care in Williamson County. However, we do have some, and we do have a community health paramedic program that works with those individuals to plug them into the resources they need, so that they're not relying on 911 for all their health care. So we can help get them, navigate them into the proper channels to get the help they need. So again, it's just a matter of time, you know, as people get priced out of housing markets, you know, in Travis County or wherever, they'll move to Williamson County. As businesses come to Williamson County, people will follow those businesses. So our call volume is going to go up as our population goes up. And again, like I said, we're prepared and we're in a position to continue to provide the same level of service we do and well into the future. So again, our primary function is to respond to 911 calls, serving the entities within Williamson County. We do mutual aid into Georgetown, and we do also provide mutual aid sometimes into Pflugerville, sometimes into Burnett County, Milam County, Bell County, depending on what's going on and how much help they need. We do interfacility transfers, not a lot of them, but the hospitals rely on us for a lot of their critical care transports. So if they have someone who's on the cath lab table at Round Rock Medical Center and they need to go and have a heart transplant somewhere, they'll call us to help transport that patient to an Austin hospital. So it's not a lot of those that we do, but we do some interfacility transfers of critical patients. We do standby events for major holidays. So major holidays and celebrations that occur, like at Old Settlers Park, we'll have ambulances set up there to kind of help with things that may happen. Weather events, if there's a big track meet going on and it's real hot, we may have an ambulance there to kind of help if people start passing out. We do have a tactical medic team, and they do work with Texas Department of Public Safety, Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and all the local municipalities. So they provide medical support to those teams if they're out on high-risk warrants and things like that. We also provide fire rehab. So if there's a major fire going on, our ambulance will go and sit there and they'll shuttle the firefighters through, checking blood pressures, temperatures, carbon monoxide levels to make sure they remain healthy to stay in the fight. If they're not, we pull them aside, we hydrate them, we do what we need to do with them to get them back into the fight. If they are not able to get back into that fight, then we'll transport them to the hospital to ensure that they're taken care of. So we do fire rehab, and then we also do hazmat rehab, hazardous material rehab, which means that if our hazmat team is out somewhere in the county dealing with a hazardous material spill, we have to make sure that those providers out there dealing with that stay healthy and stay safe. So we'll put an ambulance out there as well to make sure that they stay hydrated and that they're not having any medical issues, and we monitor them for temperature, blood pressure, things like that as well. Outreach, I think outreach person is coming to talk, but we do have a outreach division within our EMS service, and what they do is they do the Take 10 CPR, which you're going to have later today. We do a Stop the Bleed campaign. They do Narcan training, administration training. Let's see, what else? Car seat events. So there's a lot of things that they do to try to reach out to the community to let you know what we have available to you and to be able to help you with things it's like CPR and things like that. That's pretty much all I have for you guys. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to ask. Yes? Yeah, go ahead.
Before 1975, would people just call the police or fire? No, it's funeral.
Yeah, the funeral home ran EMS. Oh. Yeah. So the white paper came out in 1968, I believe. The White House looked at all the death and dying that was occurring on the highways of the United States. And so that's how EMS first got started. But the funeral homes were running it. So they always felt it was a conflict of interest, like, should I go to the hospital or should I go to the funeral home, okay? So in 1975, EMS was born, and Williamson County was one of those first ones to jump on board with EMS. So our first ambulances were, think about a 1975 Chevrolet van with really just a stretcher in it and a couple of things that they could do. It was really just get you on the ambulance and go as fast as we could to the hospital. And today, that is still to a certain extent the case. We do have a window that we need to get you to the hospital, but instead of not doing anything for you during that window in transport time, we can do a lot for you to prepare you for arrival at the hospital. Yep.
And so on the heat map,
yes.
I live in the city of Georgetown.
Uh-huh.
So if I call 911, does it go to here and then they call?
No, if you call 911 in Georgetown, it goes to Georgetown Dispatch, and then they'll dispatch Georgetown Fire and Georgetown EMS.
Do they have this, their EMS and the vehicles have the same capabilities that yours?
They don't have blood, they don't have ventilators, and I don't believe they have IV pumps yet. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Kind of following up on this question, I'm in Cedar Park with TJ.
Okay.
In Mud. We outsource off-duty for Wilco Sheriff, and we also have a private contract with Cedar Park Fire. But when we call 911, often we get bounced around back and forth between Williamson County, EMS, or police, or back to Cedar Park. So I guess I was just trying to understand really what is the 911 process and how can we help you all when we're calling you?
Right. And so I'll give you a high-level overview of that, and I'm sure communications talk about that, but there's public service answering points across the county. Depending on where you are, dictates where your call goes. If it goes to the fire department, because they don't run EMS, they then send it over to Williamson County Communications. And again, they can explain that a lot better than I can. Yeah, there's a lot of different moving parts depending on where you are in the county, and whether you call from a landline or a cell phone. I think that has some play in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question about the whole blood.
Okay.
Like, how are you keeping it?
Yeah.
And
So
how long are you keeping it?
yeah. So let me. That's a very, very good question, because when we embarked on this endeavor of carrying blood, it took us 2 years to get from what was an initial idea to implementation in the field, because the American Blood Bank Association has very strict rules on where the blood comes from, the temperature that it's controlled in when it's donated, when it's transported from We Are Blood in Austin to us, and how we monitor the temperature. So we have a very, very narrow window that we have to keep that blood in. And so we have these specialized It's called a TIC, a thermal insulated cooler, inside of a Credo kind of foam packed ice chest, if you will. There's a thermometer in there that sends a signal out remotely, Wi-Fi, and then we get it on our phone, so we know that the temperature is being held consistently. There's also a little dot on the blood that turns a different color whenever it exceeds the temperature. Either it's too hot or too cold. It'll turn to kind of like a brown color versus a green color. And so a visual inspection, we can know that the blood was out of temperature, and we also have historical data to show what the temperature was from the time that it's been in the cooler to the time it's used. Currently, the blood that we're using comes in a bag that has a preservative in that allows it to stay fresh for 35 days. After that, if we don't use it, we either discard it, or if we have the ability to take it back to them and they can give it to a hospital to use so it doesn't expire, then they'll do that as well. That new 35-day bag is new, but there's some problems with the supply, so we're going to have to go back to a 21-day bag, which means that if I donate blood today, it's only good for 21 days in that bag before it has to be discarded. So we do administer probably about 5 to 6 units of blood a month. So we try not to expire it, and if we can swap it out, we'll swap it out so it doesn't go to waste. Okay. Someone over here had another question? Yes, ma'am.
So just, I was trying to look about Georgetown's EMS services,
Mhm.
and knowing that Williamson County is larger, but also it has the CAS accreditation.
Mhm.
And you were talking about working with that department. Are there any firm plans working together for, God forbid, that something big happening?
Yeah, so there is what they call mutual aid agreements kind of in place across the state and the country. I mean, so like the fire departments do it all the time. If there's a major structure fire in Taylor, Hutto, Pflugerville, Cedar Park, everyone knows to send resources to that call. Same for us. You know, when Georgetown, I think they have 5 ambulances. If their 5 ambulances are all on calls or transporting, and a 911 call drops, they keep track of that. They know where their ambulances are, so they'll contact our communication center and say, hey, we have a chest pain call at this address here, and then one of our units will respond to it. The talks that we're talking about now is, again, with all the development that's going up in the northwest of the county, you're going to have Florence, Liberty Hill, and Georgetown fire departments all together in kind of a North Ronald Reagan area. And so the big discussion is, you know, how do we provide coverage there as the development is happening? Because what I didn't share with you is that to put on a singular ambulance with all the equipment and the staff is a little over $2 million. Okay, and if we do that every single year for every neighborhood that pops up, the budget will get out of control. So one of the things that is common in EMS is kind of what we're doing right now with Florence is we have a Tahoe out in Florence with all the equipment that's needed to run a call until the ambulance gets there. Is as these new communities develop, we would put a response Tahoe in those areas to cover those areas, get that ALS provider to you as quickly as possible, and then the ambulance will catch up to transport you. And then as the call volume increases, then we can budget for an ambulance and the staff that go with it and all the equipment that goes with it and the building and so forth. So that's kind of the discussions we're having, because there's a lot of, I mean, we all bump into each other. You don't really know that you've left Round Rock and you're in Georgetown unless you see a sign somewhere that says Georgetown, you know, whatever or another. It's kind of like up the Dallas area. You know, you don't know if you're in Plano, Frisco, you know, or whatever. You're just somewhere up there. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Who established and runs the accreditation?
So I don't know who runs it. It's an independent company. I think they're out of Washington, D.C. area up there. And it's a bunch of former CEOs, executives, EMS providers, attorneys, educators. So it's a mixture of people that put that organization together. And then their goal is to come in and make sure that they look at everything from billing to education to training. They look at driving records. They look at collisions. They look at the entire system, and they give us essentially a grade. And then they say, okay, you have a deficiency here. We need you to fix it. Or you have a policy you don't have a policy that addresses, like, let's say, sexual harassment in the organization, which we do. They look at all those and make sure that we're in compliance with everything to make sure that we have everything in place so that we're safe and that we're educated and that we're competent in what we do.
So how are they funded?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't know that, but I can find that out for you real quick.
So most of those are nonprofit professional standards organizations.
Yeah.
So they're like associations or professional associations that do these accrediting to help the across the country standards kind of come up, right? And so that's what they are.
Yeah. So if you think of like the Joint Commission for Hospitals, CAS accreditation is our equivalent to the Joint Commission, or JCO, that everyone freaks out about when JCO comes to the hospital. Okay. Yes, sir.
So, you know, when your staff goes to a police response, I imagine they see things that most of us would never, ever see. Do you have someone on staff that can help them through, like, let's say, man, I'm traumatized.
Absolutely.
I knew this person.
Right.
Or,
So we have what we call a peer support team. That's kind of our first level of help, right? When certain call types happen, if it happens to be a pediatric death, okay, that automatically triggers a peer support call to the crew that was there. The peer support team reaches out and says, hey, I understand you were involved in this call. I'm not asking you to sit down and talk now, but we're here for you. Let us know what you need. And we constantly check on them throughout the tour to make sure they're okay. We have a contract with, we have an EAP program in-house as well. We have a contract with an organization. Tanya Glenn is a licensed social worker type person, and she'll talk with our staff as well. So we have a pretty robust process in place for making sure that their mental well-being is taken care of as well. Because you're right, it is harsh. They're on for 48 hours, and then they're off for 4 days, and then they come back. And sometimes they may not see anything, but sometimes they do. And unfortunately, it only takes one horrible call to kind of wreck you mentally. Yeah. Do you have a question?
You have to, follow up, but you have to say, yes, I need help.
To a certain extent, if we see certain behaviors, then we can do a mandatory, we can do a mandatory EAP referral of the staff.
You mentioned education. Do you do that in-house?
We do a lot of it in-house. So paramedics typically is a 2-year program. Advanced EMTs is a 2-semester program, and then EMT Basic is a semester program. But when everyone that gets hired here goes through over 300-hour contact academy that they're here for. So they're here for about 6 weeks of nothing but classroom hands-on, going through equipment, going through protocols. They do some shifts out in the field to kind of get prepared for going out in the field and running calls themselves. So we have a pretty robust academy where they're in here quite a bit. We actually have 2 people in the academy right now to do that. But we're pretty fortunate that we have 5 vacancies currently out of 175 potential staff. And so we're going to have a hiring process here pretty soon. And again, we're very selective. We get over 100 applicants every process, and we may bring in 2 or 3. And to let you guys be honest with you, if we have someone who's not qualified, we're not going to hire them just to fill a seat. We'll leave it vacant until we get the right person in that position.
But you have continuing education.
We do. We have continuing education. We have quarterly training every year. So every quarter, the entire staff rotates through and it's different topics. And then we also offer a lot of like advanced cardiac life support, pediatric advanced life support classes that they come in and they can keep fresh on. Yeah, so we offer all that. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? All right, well, thank you for your time.